The ministry of young adults today is all about reaching 18 to 30-year-olds for Christ and training leaders to do the same. Well, we just got back from a time in Irvine, California, where we hosted the West Coast Leaders Conference for young adult ministry leaders from across the West Coast of the country. And man, this is a vibrant community where God is moving. There is so many churches starting young adult ministries, strengthening young adult ministries. We were able to worship together, to have roundtable discussion. We were also able to hear from different lead pastors like Pastor Eric Geiger from Mariners, where God is moving on Thursday nights every week. We're also able to hear from Dr. Glenn Packiam from Rock Harbor Church. That was one of my highlights. And our friend Dominic Doan shared on doubt and faith and deconstruction. And you guys, God is on the move. There's a hunger in young adults, but also in young leaders as we just aim to equip discipleship pathways in the local church, on college campuses. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks for participating in this podcast and in giving to this ministry. God is on the move, and just had to quickly share a couple highlights. Thanks, fam. One of the questions that comes in the most from college students and young adults to Micah and I is, how do I find a mentor? I'm looking for a mentor. And just chasing after those relationships and what to ask for and what to look for in a mentor. We've probably covered some on previous FYI podcasts. Today's question comes from Brendan.
Here we are with Brendan, who has a question for the FYI podcast. What is your question?
How do we go about finding mentors that are a little bit older than us, that have experienced more life than we have?
Oh my gosh, that's an excellent question. We love mentorship, and we will tackle this in the FYI podcast. How do we go about finding a mentor? Easy and as hard as that.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I've been inspired recently by the founder of Airbnb, a pretty successful company, right?
Yeah.
And we've stayed at Airbnb multiple different states and times, but he gives great advice. He says, be shamelessly resourceful.
Ooh, okay.
And he referenced how Steve Jobs mentored Mark Zuckerberg, how he shouted out all the people that mentored him, whether it was from Meta or Facebook or Google or other great places in the Silicon Valley when he was, Airbnb used to not be as big as it once is.
Well, not everything starts at ground zero. So
Everything
it starts as a
starts
thought,
somewhere.
starts as an idea, and then you have to put hands and feet and a blueprint to it. And I think that's the beautiful thing about creativity and mentorship of like, what do we want the blueprint of our life to look like, and who is going to be a part of that process? We know that God has the ultimate blueprint, but who's going to help us rearrange the furniture sometimes in our life? And I think those are some mentors that we can ask to speak into that process.
For sure. Mike and I have always said something to the variation of, you look for a pain point in your life and you look for a leader who exudes Jesus. You could be wanting to become married and find somebody, a married couple, or somebody who you just see as a great spouse. Or, you know, I was really deeply honored about a couple things recently, meeting with some young men. And one said, hey, there's a lot of, you know, dads out there, but I see you as a father. And what did he say? He said, I've seen you as not just a spouse and a dad, but as a husband and a father. And he just talked about the difference. Or so I think that for maybe it was a conversation like that, but I think as clear as you can get of what you're looking to grow in and who exudes that and the love of Jesus. But at the same time, like, you've at times asked people to mentor you. Some have said yes, some have said no. How have you recovered and recalibrated? Maybe when somebody says yes, and maybe when somebody says no.
Well, I always look for somebody, like Josiah said, like find somebody that you admire from afar, or maybe even a little bit close up. You've had some encounters with them, asking them out, initiating, become that first person of the ask. And if they do say yes, then let them know that it's worth their time and their effort. So come prepared as the mentee. Like, you're coming prepared, you're coming with questions, you're coming with a notebook, you're taking notes. Because being a mentor, there's nothing more disturbing than somebody that wants an hour of my time that comes with one question. And I don't think it takes necessarily one. It might, snowball into multiple questions as the conversation goes. But for 60 minutes to talk about one question, I can't do that. I mean, if I can, then like I said, the snowballing questions are going to follow. Um, so I would just say like when it is a yes, there's excitement, there's joy, there's honor in that process because someone's willing to speak into my life. I've had people say, I've never mentored anybody, so I don't even know what I would do. So the answer is no. And I was never hurt. I never go into mentorship expecting somebody to say yes, and I'm not going to also say no for them.
Beautiful.
So I would just rather understand their yeses and their nos and say, okay, you've never mentored somebody. To me, that's very disheartening because you are well over 50, but you've never mentored or spoken into any single female's life, and you've claimed Christianity this entire time. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not hurt by it. I am more like, girl, can I mentor you? Like, you have something to offer the generations. So I think I've just shaken it off and like, okay, I'll find somebody else. But I don't take it personally. And I mean, I just can't. I just can't sit there on that personally. Like, I just
Hmm.
don't get in that vicious cycle
Hmm.
of rejection or whatever.
You know, I'm a person who words of encouragement mean a lot to me, and sometimes words of rejection can be really disheartening.
Yeah.
But I'll give you an example. I think God's helped me in the past decade or so on this long journey of developing thicker skin and maintaining the soft, tender heart. So
That's
I'll give
good.
you a real example. One of my favorite leaders, dream guest on our other podcast, the Young Adults Today podcast, personally DM'd them, and they even listen to some episodes. I know it for a fact. And he said, "You know what? I'm going to pass." And the younger me would have been just crushed. But you know what? I bounced back quicker because I go, you know what? There's a lot of demands on his life. He's leading something that God's using so significantly. This
You,
might not be worth his time.
yeah, you
This is
you
such a
understood.
small thing. And so I've given people so much more grace, mercy, and understanding
Hmm.
that even if they just didn't have time or didn't feel like it or didn't want, hey,
Hmm.
I try to take no just as graciously as yes. And what helped me get there quicker is Ken Coleman told me this, Josiah, turn rejection into redirection.
Yeah, it's
When
good.
somebody tells you no, it doesn't mean no. It just means not me or not here or not now.
Hmm.
And so I'm actually grateful for the no. I'm going to redirect to find maybe what God has or what might be looking for. And I've just been really inspired, Micah, watching you find and develop and foster great mentorships. And I think that's something that I have so longed for a long, long time.
Hmm.
Um, and I haven't been chasing mentorship as actively since having kids,
Hmm.
or it's just looked different. I've had
Hmm.
more hours of production or output with work and podcasts and ministry and event planning and fundraising and all of those things. But I found like I met with a mentor for lunch last week, and there was such a boost of energy and joy in
Hmm.
my entire week after meeting with him. And
Hmm.
so we want that for you. And I really see it all throughout scripture. Jethro and Moses, Eli and Samuel, Elijah and Elisha,
Hmm.
Jesus and the disciples, Paul and Timothy. Fictional examples could be Yoda and Luke Skywalker, Mr.
Yeah.
Miyagi and Daniel, Gandalf and Frodo. The list goes on and on. But I want to encourage you around today's verse of the
Mhm.
day from Luke 11. It's kind of a passage, verses 5 through 13, and Jesus talks about, he said to them, suppose one of you has a friend, goes to him at midnight and says, friend, lend me 3 loaves, for a friend of mine has come to me from a journey and I have nothing to give him. And from the inside, he shouts from the house, do not bother me. The door has been shut and my children are in bed. I cannot give you anything. I tell you, though, even though he will not get up and give anything because he is a friend, yet because of his persistence, he will get up and give him as much as he needs. So Jesus says to us, ask and it will be given to you.
Mhm.
Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds. And to him who knocks, it'll be opened.
Mhm.
And I just want to encourage you, Brendan. It was a joy to meet you in Fargo. And if you're looking for a mentor still, keep asking, keep seeking, and keep knocking.
Yeah, And I just want to encourage the person that maybe you are looking for a mentor, but also maybe you're in a season to become a mentor and to become that person for somebody else. Like make sure you pay it forward, link arms with somebody above and below, and then have those people beside. Just because you're not being mentored right now doesn't mean that you should stop your friendships of sharpening. I think that's a season where Josiah has been in, maybe more sharpening of friendships than extreme mentorships that you once experienced
Yeah.
probably 10 to 14 years ago starting out in ministry because of the eagerness and the singleness and the season that you were in. There's just different demands. So I just want to encourage you. We are all in need of a mentor and we're all in a season of a mentor. It's just what season are you in, being able to identify that, as well as what area of life are you wanting, willing, and needing to grow in that somebody else is further along than you. And you can glean insight and wisdom and have some fun in that process and just see what God does. So start praying that God would illuminate those conversations, those people, those asks. And I will say this, if you are seeking out a mentor, you need to be the person of the first ask
I agree.
because there are not a lot of people looking around saying, let me mentor you. You know what I mean? So become that person like, oh, I see something in this person that I really admire. And I know that I'm needing to grow in this area. So,
Man, check out what our pastor, Nate Roosh, had to say about this topic. What's up, guys? I'm here with,
Pastor Nate.
and man, we're grateful for Emmanuel. God's doing a work in young adults.
He is.
What's one piece of advice that you wish everyone in their 20s, maybe a college student or a young adult, what's one piece of advice for the next gen?
I'd say this, if you want mentorship, you got to chase it
So true.
because there's a lot of adults that want to share things with you, older people, seasoned people. They're just waiting for an invitation.
All you got to do is ask, and you get what you ask for.
Yeah, they're not going to barge into your world with their advice. You need to ask for it.
What a great challenge for everybody to maybe take that step and make a courageous ask. Ask somebody to be a mentor in your life, right?
Yeah, and you'll make their world too. They want to share.
It's a win-win.
A total win-win.
Man, that video and Pastor Nate inspires me. And I want you to be that person. And to piggyback what Micah said a second ago, I've loved in seasons of life being a youth leader, volunteering at church, volunteering in the FCA, and paying it forward, being available when people have questions or need help or want to meet.
Yeah.
I've found such great joy in pouring out. And it's something Clarence St. John taught me years ago, but you want to reach up to mentors. You want to reach out to friends, out to peers to encourage, and you want to reach down to pull up others. And so, man, in the meantime, I think I've at times been taught so much by air quotes mentees because of the questions that they've asked were different questions than I asked.
right.
And we went on a journey together to discover the answers and unpack the answers together. But the last thing, like I would get in community groups, pools of people, like maybe be a kids worker, a nursery worker, a youth leader, a mentor in that regard. And then if you are looking for mentors, I would level up if you're in college, level up if you're a young adult. You probably have enough time to go to a men's or women's ministry
That's right.
or to a men's or women's small group, connect group, Bible study. And those are places, look around your church. Look at the prayer team. And I'll come back to something I said a while ago on the FYI podcast. Look for your pastor. Ask them for a vouch. Ask if they,
good.
because if somebody came up to me at our church and said, I need a vouch on so-and-so, should they be speaking into my life? I would not want to steer them wrong. I'd be like, oh yeah, you got to ask him yesterday. Or I'd be like, hey, have you thought about so-and-so instead? Let me introduce you. So ask for vouches. And Brennan, we're cheering you and the listener on. This is the FYI podcast.
Hallelujah.